Okay, ready to rock and roll, guys. Hope we're all doing well. Can you hear me loud and clear? Or clear and loud? Just a quick footnote. When you're looking at it through YouTube, if you're watching the stream through YouTube, you can, if you're having a bit of a problem with clarity, YouTube has it defaulted. Default settings are not quite good, but if you go to quality, bottom right corner, you have a little wheel. Click on that, quality, and go to 720 high def, and that should just be cleaning up quite a bit. It'll probably be easy to see the charts through then. Alright, so welcome to TradeSetup in the live stream. It's the 17th of August. Market's not too bad today. I think it's up only about 5 or 10 points the last I'd noted. It has ticked up a few on the open. We're expecting it to open around 10 to 15 higher, and it did that pretty much, I think, at 8 to 10. It was up at 11 or 12 at one stage, but not too strong. Not a massive lead from the US overnight. They were fairly, well, they finished in the green, and I think Europe was also in the green, but started off strong apparently. This session actually didn't start too bad, quite positive, but then I think Trump's caused a few more issues. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it's just making it hard for his, well, for Parliament, or what do they call it over there, to actually run the country and get the changes they need to do for growth through. He's just making it tough for himself. I can't remember exactly what it was. That it's like a CEO council, a couple of councils. You've got people leaving that, so they've been disbanded. And it's just causing him problems, causing him headaches, I think. So that's what sort of ticked off the market, and it struggled to hold the gains towards the close last night. Europe still plugging away, doing quite well. We had, in Europe, and in the US also, we had the FOMC meeting minutes, and I think their target's around 2%, and they were last at 1.8, and what they've seen is that drop off a bit. I think CPI around 1.6%, so it's not quite hitting the above 2%, which they expected it to grow to, thanks to job strength and things. So they're a bit more. I think there's been a bit of not discontent, I guess you would say, but a bit of a discussion about potentially raising rates again in December. So that may or may not be coming off the cards. I think the night before they had retail sales, and that was quite strong. So I think the market's factoring a higher chance of a rate rise in December, but it's only go to about 55% probability that they're going to raise rates again for the third time, I think, for the year in December. But it looks like the Fed is still a bit in disagreement there. Not everyone's in total agreement that they need to raise it again this year. Maybe just let it be for a while and see how it goes into next year. But we'll only time will tell. We'll have to keep an eye on the figures for that. Another thing that I think we should be keeping an eye on is the bond market. Obviously, a lot of people do that, and it's quite important, but I think there's quite a few people that, maybe retail traders, that don't really watch the bonds as such. I think that's going to be a bit of a precursor to any pullback in the equity market. If you've got the US bond yields, so yields is inverse to price, if they rise, meaning the bonds drop, and a raise in the yield is basically a raise in what they're looking for, the outlook for interest rates. If they raise, then I think that's going to be a bit of a knock-on effect to the equity markets with higher rates, obviously. So that could be a bit of a precursor, just to keep an eye on those for a bit of a heads up of what the bond market do. They're a lot more educated, a lot older. That bond market, they're a lot less fickle. A lot more professionals in there too, trading it. So it's just something to keep an eye on. Anyway, and also, just lastly, the VIX. The VIX spiked up the other day on that drop, and then it's basically come straight back down again. So it's starting to potentially getting a bit of movement. So it goes to show if the market's going to tip over, you'll probably see that VIX, the volatility index, kick up. Obviously, you will do. And if it stays high, then you're going to see a lot more volatility in the market, a bit more choppiness, maybe some strong moves down. So just keep an eye on that. Obviously, everyone's concerned on the valuation of companies in the US and where the US, the S&P is now. But in saying all that, don't fight the trend is my motto. You don't try to second guess what's happening. Just trade it as you see it. So what we'll do today is go through. There's a couple of good examples. We had Telstra come out today, and that got absolutely poleaxed on the open because they just didn't hit the mark with their financial year results. and the dividends were not what people expected, so that's got belted. And a lot of people traditionally play Telstra because of the dividend, and it probably follows on from our talk on Monday about dividends, and try not to take into account. I'm not a big fan of buying for dividends and then because generally you buy, it's got to be in a rising market. These shares have to be doing well. There's another one. If you bought it for dividends, you've done quite well, both on the dividend and the appreciation of the stock. That's IPL. Yet they went ex-div today. All right, let's we'll go through that, and then obviously take a bit of a look at the overall market where the ASX is standing, and then open it up. So I want to keep it a bit short and sweet today with my ramblings. So just get ready for anything that you want to look at. Just chuck it into chat. It can be anything at all. I'm sure I can build an opinion on it anyway. As many of you know, I can talk underwater, can't I? So we'll open it up a bit more. Keep it a bit short and sharp for me, and then open up to you guys to put in some trades. I've got a few on my list I just want to quickly go through. Just talking about even ones that we've missed, we send out as an alert. Strike rate, it's very important to get in the right direction. Our results on TradeSetup have been going really well. As of late, it's been a bit of a grind. It's been a bit tough. I think a lot of people have found that. But it's not just about getting the gains in trading. It's about protecting yourself from any downward movements. And I think even though the market's been choppy, we've been edging higher, probably about 5% over the last month or two. So I think that's the name of the game. When the market's going great guns and it's just bullish, everything's going well, it's not super hard to get the good gains. So it's one thing to bear in mind. Part of your trading process or your trading is to protect yourself from downward moves. Not just buy and hold and hope for the best, anything like that. You've got to trade the market. I know I've said this time and time again. It doesn't matter which style you do, whether it's fundamental, technical, a blend of both, whatever. You still got to trade the markets as you see it. So you got to have some reason why you would be getting out. Keep yourself safe at the times like we've seen the last 2.5 months where the ASX has been choppy. US has been going to all-time highs. It's important to protect yourself because I think our market has been for a while now just waiting for that US to roll over, and everyone's, again, we're just trying to second guess it, and some good results have been harder to come by, but also it's about protecting yourself to the downside. If this market fell over in the US, we're sure to get caned, and we did that the other day when they toppled over. We got sold off down to support, which I didn't quite expect, but like I said, just keeping yourself protected in times of uncertainty. When the market starts moving again, then you can open yourself up, you can open your trades up, give yourself a bit more room to move and really start booking those profits. All right, we'll get my pretty face on there now. Just bear with me a second. Any questions just on what I rambled on about? Let's get rid of that. All right, so how's everyone doing anyway? So, doing well. We'll start off with the XJO. What is this? IAG. That looks good actually. Might go over that later. So I just want to make sure I don't get rid of this. Alright. Actually, what am I looking for? XJO. Let's kick it off with... How are you, Helen? Hope you're doing well. So this is the weekly chart, the longer term time frame of the ASX. There's no reason to doubt that this is not in an uptrend, even if you go to the monthly. You can see it's obviously had that was in GFC time, it got sold off. And we've been holding these high lows, high low here, high low here. A bit of contraction was just starting, and if we do creep up like we saw this type of trend, and potentially we're only halfway through that, and we could be grinding our way up through 6,000. Back up to the highs. It'd be interesting to see if we do that. That's just from a technical point of view. Obviously, if there's we're going to get a few roadblocks if the US does topple over a bit, has a decent sell-off. But, people have been talking a sell-off in the US for a long time now, and hopefully no one here, but I do know people have been getting caught trying to second-guess the short side, just getting steamrolled over, maybe making a few profits along the way just to keep them, and what that really does is just keeping them on the short side, they take a little profit, they take a couple of losses, they take a little profit, and that's just continually just chopping them back out again. So net, I know, like I said, they're just getting steamrolled by the market. Does pull back, they expect it to go short, and then turns around and wipes them back out and squeezes them back out on the upside. Now, that's been happening for a while, thinking that it's going to go short. So anticipating just doesn't work, and trading is the way to go in my view. I hope we all agree. Just getting a bit ranty lately. But you can see this market is going up quite strong. We've had that. Oh, that's not your 50-50. So recent support. Is this the XJ8? Major support down at 47, and that we've got that next leg up, which started down here. This is back in 2011. Good strong leg up from about 3,800 up to 6,000. So that's a solid strong leg up. What's that? 2,200 points. Yeah, about 2,200 points. So if you take that from the bottom, if that's another major corrective action lower through 2015, then we found a low. We're definitely on the way up. We're holding higher lows. You can see the most recent major high low is 50-50 through here. We'll just expand that a bit more. 50-50 through here. We potentially just got another major support zone through that's 56.50. Not yet to confirm just yet. I'll draw it up in a second what we want to see on the daily. But if that just keeps on going, you add another 2,200 points to 40. That's 69. Yeah, 6,900. So there's quite a bit, potentially quite a bit of fat left in this rally here. Whether we fall short at 6,000, we do topple over. It's yet to be known yet. We have to go down to the daily charts, but like I said, we have to trade what we're seeing. Try not to anticipate a bit of a rollover. For me, I've been swinging between potentially the market rolling over, the market pushing up, the market rolling over. Now I'm back to looking like this. After that good little sell-off, it's still held up at the support zone. And this is the latest price action we want to see on the ASX. Let me just draw that up now. So what's everyone else's view on the ASX? Still a bit indecisive at the moment. We've got our key level up at, say, 59.50 at the moment. It's actually up at 6,000 for me, which is the major high. We fell short at 59.50 just here, but potentially we get a bit of reaction off there or up towards there anyway. And then for me, it's this level here, pretty much what we pushed up through today, up through the 5,800, and we've got a major support zone, 56, say 56.50 to 56.80 through here, and we've just got, you can see it's just touched down and keeps getting rejected. So the more often that it gets rejected, and even the most recent beating we got after the US toppled over the other day, it got rejected a bit higher, so that's a minor high low just below 56.80, say 56.75. It didn't quite get down to where it has before, so that's looking more positive to me. But you still want to see it push up through this level, then potentially pull back and retest it. A bit of choppiness, and then start to bring in buyers, because that once you get the push up and through, it's going to come on a lot of people's radar of just starting to grind its way higher and starting to push up towards that 59.50 and above. So we'll see how that goes. Only time will tell. But for me, it's more bullish than bearish just at the moment. So, like I said, if you're going to trade what you see, I'll be favouring the long side, obviously, and potentially building some, but obviously being risk adverse too. Just making sure you know exactly where your risk is on any one trade you pick, and picking the quality setups really. But that's spent a lot of time. See, that's been the last couple of months since the start of June, really. June, July, and the good part of August, 2.5 months now. Are you talking a correction down there, John? Correction's a week late. We've had it earmarked, haven't we? God, it has thrown me a bit of a curveball. You can see that I thought it was going to pop up here. I mean, still my original hypothesis, once it broke up through 58, that was hypothesis, if I could say that properly. That push up through 58 was really just that breaking of that downtrend, and then I was expecting more of the higher lows and then to go up. It's just been grinding sideways, more consolidation through there. So I spent a lot of time consolidating, just chopping between, say, 58 and 56.50. And that's been catching a lot of people, and a lot of people have been swinging between bullish and bearish. It is that time where you don't go too hard on the long positions. If you go quality setups, there's more than enough opportunity out there to make some dollars. But the bigger blue chips would have been a bit whippy, I think, of late. Anyway, that's my 2 bobs worth. Now, let's just go through a few. Any questions? Does anyone have a differing opinion on that? Is everyone, let's just see a show of hands, really, but who's bullish and who's bearish on the ASX just at the moment? You know, and potentially why? Just giving my view, I'm more bullish. It's probably going to be, I mean, I do expect this US. I'm not going to anticipate it. Let's just tick on the US. Purely because equities, where am I going? I mean, looking at the Dow, there's if we do roll over from here, we might get a bit of corrective action, but it's still not, the longer term trend still up. It's just the daily trend, it's just grinding higher. 2019. That'd be great, Clement. That'd be very nice. Yeah, but if that's the case, that means my hypothesis, tough word to say, I think it's a lack of coffee, that if it does get, you know, into 2019, that would suspect that we are going to get that nice, long, solid leg up. All right. I think in September, traditionally low. Yeah, it's interesting. It's, look, there's nothing, I'm always one for you're trying to suss out the market and planning, but you've got to plan both sides. You can't just be biased one way. That's my view. That's why you probably see that I've been chopping between one and the other, bullish and bearish, and that's what I was saying about sitting on the fence rather than people say get off the fence. I reckon get on the fence and assess both sides just as evenly. So it means that you're more nimble when you're trading. If the market starts rolling over, don't get stuck, you know, with any one mindset. It's trying to assess both sides, and that's probably the crux of trading. Is, you know, the amount of time, especially intraday trading. I haven't done much in the past, but even yesterday doing a few on the Aussie, probably more losses than wins. But the last one was a good win, and it made me profitable for the day. But it was jumping between shorts and longs and shorts and longs. I got chopped around a bit, but at least it kept me looking at both sides evenly, not being, you know, shorting the market, and just getting chopped up every time it pushed back up again, because it did end up spiking higher, went quite strong. So it's a good, you know, it's just an example of keeping you that mindset of trying to watch both sides of the markets, what's happening. You know, put your bearish hat on, say, oh, could this roll over? Yeah, of course it could. It could go on the Dow, for instance. This market, if you just look at it a bit closely, here we go. The key, obviously, I mean, if this market could easily be bearish, it could roll over through, you know, 21, was it 21,850, say these lows. Yeah, 21,843. This could be a lower high, and then what you would expect is a bit of corrective action. So there's nothing wrong with that. And then you take a longer term view. Okay, if it's correcting, what's going to happen is going to be a longer term correction, shorter term, just on the daily. You know, something like what we saw here, a few lower highs, lower lows, and then just started to build a higher low again. Any selling was getting bought straight back up again. Is going to be something like this, longer term, lower highs, lower lows, find support, start to build. Is going to be like that, or just a major, we just go back out a bit. A longer, look, it hasn't been much of a longer term correction. Do you know what I mean? More of a complex correction, or it's just going to be a slight bit of a pullback, double leg down, and then start to build again. So then it's just assessing as you go, assessing on the fly. So I hope that makes a bit of sense to you there. I mean, if you look at it from the bullish side, then yeah, this market's just, you'd expect it just to punch through those highs and keep grinding its way higher. But we'll see. All right, let's get into. It's good to see everyone's views. It's good that I really think it's good to have a view of it. Just checking out the comments now. It's great. All right, let's. I just want to quickly go over as an example of trading the market, Telstra, which we've been short on this since back in, I think, June sometime. You can see there's no doubt about that trend's lower. Let's go to the weekly. That's bang lower. It's potentially, if you're looking at it from the length of the move down, that corrective action down, maybe we got in a bit late through 431, I think. It was just in here. Make that a bit higher. So on a weekly chart, we got in somewhere around here, 431. So you could look, potentially that was a bit late, but, you know, the market was, I'm not a big fan of Telstra anyway. I don't think it's that great. I think they've got problems, you know, competition, all that sort of stuff. Problems with NBN, not doing too well for them. But just trading the market, I mean, that was a definite short setup. You can see the market was grind higher, that the key level was drawn up just to make it high. I just want to go through what we're talking about. And the reason why we didn't tighten the... Sorry, I want to try that a bit better. Let's thicken those up. All right. Just be a moment there, guys. Just bear with me. All right, is that coming through okay? You can see that chart better. All right. Now we've got little minor anchor levels. You've got a big level up here. The market's pushed down, tried to consolidate here, and then build higher lows. Couldn't. Headed south again. A gap down to around that four buck level, just on here. Then started building these minor higher lows, and you can see that market was holding up, pushing higher highs, but then it started stagnating around that 450 mark, pushed down, and so your key minor level was just in here, holding this reaction back up, and that's your reaction back up, that corrective action. Then what you're looking for is really a lower high to build, and we got that lower high here after we pushed through this. It's probably not the a lot of rubbish on here now, so if we just draw that up a bit clearer, that's your resistance zone. That was the level we looked to break. Broke that, popped up, build your lower high, and then from there it was just all about the short trade. So that we were looking on the short trade, short side there. That was a really nice clean setup. There's no reason why. Okay, we could be late into the trade on a weekly basis, but trading what we see, we know exactly where our risk was. Originally, I think it was up around 445. Bit of pressure when it pushed up here above 440, and then we built a good lower high here, and then started capitulating. We pushed down, took a partial. Now, at this stage, it's tempting just to lower your risk, but then what you're doing is really just taking advantage of this leg down. And I think when you take a partial, it's good, and it was a partial into this resistance zone. When you see some days of not doing anything, I'm happy to take something. We had it a bit lower at the start, but then just took it off at 410, a partial just in there. Now, it did chop around here for a while, and it's tempting to move your stop down on the remaining lot, just below there, because, I mean, if it's still weak, you'd expect it to go down. But at the same token, if this could easily grind higher, but hold below that major 450 resistance zone, and also this leg down really didn't stop. This was the first sign that it was actually, we're going to get a bit of contraction off this, just off this minor move. So you've really got, you know, a little minor anchor level to that trend down. It was way up just below, around that 440 mark, which is where we had our stop just recently, only up until today. Moved it down to 435, just below that, just above that high here. Now that market did push all the way up. Obviously, that was on the back of results. Expecting maybe people closing out some short positions, expecting, not knowing what to expect, I guess, from Telstra. Coming out of dividends weren't quite as good as what they thought. Results, you know, they're just not doing great. Worse than expected. So the market's gapped down. And don't forget, being a dividend play, and it's just got some massive volume and holding this. So this thing, for me, it could really just, you know, this move down, I don't think it's over. I think you've got more to go, a bit like that. Whether it's going to push down to, we've got a little minor support around that 370 mark, or even a lot lower and break down below 3, really capitulate. If that's the case, you know, it's great being on the short side, obviously. So this is one thing I was saying, I'm just trying to, I guess, get across, is to trade what you see. There's a chance that we would have got tagged on that 440 stop. In hindsight, we didn't. And you can see that bit of a washout up to the top of just those shorts closing out, whether it's shorts from way up here around 5, shorts from here, shorts from where we were, just buying it back, anticipating, you know, maybe a pop up. But as it played out, you know, we're willing to take that risk. That it's got to break structure to come and get us. I want to be proven wrong. I don't really want to try to second guess. Okay, let's just get out and see what happens, because we would have missed what happened today. And it's worth the risk. There's times when you can get nabbed when you open it up, obviously. But a lot of times you don't, and it's those times that you don't, that you can just follow it either down or up. If you're following a buy, you know, the reverse of this, the market's heading higher, you don't try to guess, you don't have yourself a target. Yeah. What I'm saying is you don't. We are happy to take a partial exit, you know, all the time if it pushes down. So what's that doing is just, you get a good little gain. It's coming to a resistance level, coming up to a resistance, or coming down into a support zone, like we saw on Telstra, taking a partial exit. And it's more to be on the safe side, just to make sure, especially if you see it react off that zone, take a partial and then open up the second lot, because you never know what's going to happen. There's going to be times you probably, when you open it up a bit, obviously your stats will change a bit on that second part. You're probably going to take a few more hits than what you may want to. But at the same token, on the flip side, then you start really following that second half and letting it run. I think time will tell, and time will prove that more often than not, those ones that you let open up are really going to pay dividends. Not dividends on the stock, but they're really going to pay handsomely. Does that make sense, guys? And that's probably, in essence, what we're just trying to do here. There's no reason really to move the stop down. It was probably really, if you put it at 420, for instance, that was really tightening things up a bit. And you would have expected, I mean, you got wiped out there if you did tighten it up. Okay, you've locked in a second lot of gains, but I think this has got a lot more legs to the downside potentially after those, how to say in a nicer word, crappy results. And don't forget, there's a lot of people who will be caught on the long side here that just want to get out. It may pop up, try to close that gap, or may just have a bit of a positive day and then roll over into the close today. We don't know, but we'll see how that goes. There's another one we took partials on yesterday, and this is at 625. I think it hit 628 today, which is quite nice. Had a high of 29 yesterday, so we had a 625 partial exit, and that is mainly because it's coming to a bit of resistance up here. You can see from back in March, and that's mainly the key. It had to pop up here, higher lows, higher high, and then roll over from there. So that's your key swing high. Coming out from that resistance zone, you're probably expecting a bit of reaction off there. We're sitting on what, 5% gains. I think we're just checking it. 6.6%. That's a nice little booking. That's nice. You don't know what's going to happen from here. And then we've got our risk just below this low, just below where we got in, actually. So, that's not what I want. Where am I? CKF. Let me just check. Okay, entry is at 586. Our risk is, okay, we're just locking in a ever so, pretty much a break even, ever so positive gain on that one at 590, 580, 590, I think. So this one here, I'm expecting to grind its way higher. The weekly is the chart that I like. If we can make that a bit better. That weekly chart looks good. That could just grind its way higher. I'm expecting it to test up towards 675 before we see any major reaction. We may see a bit of a pullback here and then go again. We'll just have to wait and see. But in hindsight, I might have my stop too close. We'll just have to wait and see. And I don't mind it on this one having a bit tighter because of that. It is getting a bit extended on the weekly. The daily's pushing back up. We'll see how we go. We'll see who's right and wrong. All right, any questions just on those? There wasn't much else. I think ones that we see have got promise. For now, BAP, I see that as having some, look at that. It's had a good run up. Spent a lot of time consolidating through here, but it pulled back to down, below 5. Then it built a higher low at 5. The high low is not confirmed until we get up through 6, but it's got the whole, it's got the signs of really a double bottom, high low forming, and ready to pop out of contraction. And that's your contraction lower, and with some high lows. So you can see that if we drew that up, which we will do, you'll see that maybe that's starting to break out now. Take it from the high, take it across. Yeah, we've got that breakout now, so we're starting to push our way high. So it's really, on a weekly basis, looking really good. We're looking for a continuation higher. If we go back to that daily chart, it's really, I want to see it pop up through, I want to see another high low build. Really, it's had a wash out of 540, that low, and then got rejected, but it was still a down day. That was yesterday, and then today it's looking to be positive at the moment. So I want to see it push up, pull back, build a high low, and then we've got our entry set up. What's the other one? BAP and BNO is another one. Bionomics Limited. Longer term, the market's ground down on a weekly basis. We push down, and it's been really, this is the first signs where that trend is abating. We're just pushing up into resistance at 50 cents. We popped up here, pull back, and that confirms that higher low just above 30, say at 31. So from here, you go down to the daily. I want to see it push up through 46 and then potentially get a high low, for a potential buy entry setup. But the weekly's looking nice. You got some nice support held here. We're working off some higher lows. We're working with the trend higher. The weekly is up. The daily's up. The MA is pointing in the right direction. So we're really going to be targeting, take a bit of a chance, push up through 46. I think it's going to push up through 50 off this high low. And you can see it's done a fair bit of work here off those highs. Good part of a month and a half, actually probably a month, just over a month and a quarter. And we'll see how that goes. But that's looking good too. One that I am kicking myself, but, in hindsight, we sent this one out as an alert. And this is more just tooting our horn, I guess. So I just taking my coffee. This is another one, and it looks nice on a weekly. I mean, it's these sorts of ones that you can get some good bang for your buck. And they start picking up. You can see the volume's picked up the last few weeks, probably a month or so. And that's been a lot of time sort of chopping. Let's draw it. I like to draw pictures. It's not what I want. All right, let's just try that. What's this one again? EPT. So this code is EPT on this. All right. So a lot of time sort of banging around between that 1 cent, and it is like a small stock. And then we picked up, for whatever news, washed out the highs, previous highs on a weekly basis. So that is, your first heads up that something's starting to happen. And to preempt it is probably going to, you're ahead now if you just preempted it on this little rise here, rather than let it break out of highs, or go down to the daily charts, obviously, looking for your entry setup. Built a nice little high low through around 2, and we're working our way up off that high low here, and that's looking really, especially it's really been the last few days, it's looking very positive. And that's, if you go down to the daily, was a nice, maybe breaking through 5, a nice little setup. Yeah. All right, so that for me is looking good. If we go into the daily, I didn't see a solid setup. What we usually like. In hindsight, we probably could have taken something. I think I started looking at around just above 4. I'll see if I can get the... Let me just see if I can get the latest alert, the chart. Does anyone know where I was looking at this one? EPT. Oh no, it was when it... through 5. Is that the latest one? Oh, it was through here. Or was it? No, it wasn't. That's that high. Come down, looking at this little spike up. All right, yeah, so it was around 5. It was just a touch over 5 on this candle here. I was expecting a bit of more of a pullback just below that high, and then build a little high low and then go. But it's pretty much kicked on strong without us. But we'll see how this one, just keeping an eye on it, because this could easily run up through 10 and do that 10 thing that we've talked many times before. When it goes from, say, 9.7, 9.8, 9.9, and it clicks over to half a cent. Above 10, 10.5, 11, 11.5, and so on. This could be targeting that, get played a bit. So, getting in here, you're taking a chance. You're getting into a potentially extended market up here, and it might just do the play through 10, and then, just be wary of that could be what's going on. It's going to give you some gains anyway. But we'll see how this one goes. A bit of a miss. So, that was it. I think the only other ones I was really going to take... IPL. That is not what I'm looking at. IPL doesn't look too bad. I want to see it start lifting form, getting some high lows. It's in not a bad spot here, but this trend down hasn't broken just yet. It's still holding a lower high at around 360. Maybe this could easily grind up to 350 with some high lows, high highs, and then roll over, and the longer term trend takes hold again and push down through 320. So I want to see it do some work, but this weekly structure, yeah, I don't mind it so bad. It's contracted lower down to the support zone. This is a high low, only slightly higher low, around 270. It's pushed up through this 350 zone, pulling back. So this is an ideal spot for it to build a high low on a weekly and a daily. We'll just see how that one goes. That's about it. I think ASX is another one that's actually, is that kicked on? This is a cracker. This is, we only got this a few days ago. Good announcement today. They're doing really well. Yeah, they're kicking goals. Their, I think, 2011 financial year results were good. Better than expected. So that's why it's just really, it did have a bit of a washout below 3 today, just after the open, but then it's turned around and headed straight back up again. So that's looking good for a push up through 54.50. Maybe somewhere around that 55.50 will be an area to look at for a partial exit. I don't know what's that going to give us in percentage terms. It's probably not going to be massive. I just want to see. Well, 54.39. Yeah, so it's only up 2% at the moment. If we get somewhere around 55.50, yeah, it's only about a 4% gain. But look, we'll see how it reacts there. This one could really go on strong. You know, the weekly's still looking good. Maybe getting a bit long in the tooth here. We might still. I'm expecting it to maybe run into a bit of headwinds just up here, but we don't know. We might get, if we get this type of movement, it starts extending, and then you get this more of a complex correction on a daily basis anyway. Like we saw here, lower low, sorry, lower high, lower low, and then start to build again. I'd like to see that type of price action, you know, a bit more, a bit steeper, a bit harder, a bit faster. But either way, looking good. All right, guys, chuck your codes in. Let's get into it. Let's have a bit of a look. Any questions on what we've just looked at? Any questions on any of the alerts we've got running? Or there has been a few that have gone in our favour. Like I said, EPT, that the alerts we're expecting to go up, but we just didn't get the entry we like. You fall away. Another one. Bub, great guns, that one. That's one we missed, and this would have been. I don't know why I didn't alert this one through here as a prime entry through 31. That would have been great. I was holding high lows. You see it start to really kick on high, kick on strong. There was one more. This one's going to kill me, isn't it? I think I got out somewhere around here. Around that one in this candle here. So I actually had this one personally, not an alert. I had it right through here. Took a partial up at, don't know. I can't remember. I took a partial on this one. This is This is a what is this one? Cannabis one. Great. That's really starting to get extended. If you look at the weekly, the weekly is beautiful. I was expecting to go 125, just couldn't trade it up there. But anyway, chuck in your. If there's any code you want to look at, guys, just put in the code. Something you want to take a look at. Meanwhile, I'll just take a look at the market. We're still up 27, hovering around where we are at the moment. Nothing too serious. Nothing much is happening. I'm just checking out some of our other alerts. ILU, that one's been a bit choppy the last days, but it's still holding trend. JHC will do, Chris. What else we got? All right. Well, let's get into JHC. I'm just glancing at that. It's definitely rolling over here. Let's take a weekly. Yeah. What's your view on this one, Chris? Before I, well, for me, this is rolling over. The only reason I may just start looking at this one is it's potentially starting to get a bit extended. I mean, there's no reason to go and buy it when the stochastics are getting down. It's taking a bit of pressure to push it down. Potentially that could hold up at a high low above 180, but you know, price action is what rules, not stochastics. Not okay, good. It's not stochastics that rule. It's not your indicators. It's not anything. It's price action, and where, like Davin says, where people are going to get sweaty palms if they're going. You know, if you want to go long, where are they short? Potentially get sweaty palms, or you know, what's happening? Are we hitting a level where you expect a bit of action or reaction or anything like that? At the moment, this is not for me. You know, we've got that. It's probably better on the weekly. We've got that lower high in play just below 230. This one here, it's a major lower high, and it's rolling over. That's definitely looking like it's rolling over. This to me could easily attack that 180 and push through it. We'll just have to wait and see. The only sort of thing working for it, this sharp move down from 270, pushed down hard to about $1.50, would have taken a few longs out, you'd expect. So what we're maybe seeing here is this pop up. Still some shorts want to get out. Another pop up, shorts want to get out. But maybe buyers, it's hard to say in that route now. We haven't seen anything. The MAs are still starting to spread. We've had this pull back up. They're starting to spread down again, which is not a good sign for going long. But maybe this is what could potentially lead me to see, to wait and see what's happening. But I'd ideally want to see it push up through that 230 zone. I want to see it start attacking up through 220, 230. And then I want to see a high low build for me to go long and start taking it up. It's probably a lot to give up on a trade, but I'm giving up that for a higher probability trade. And I guess that's the essence of trading, really. A lot of essences today. What else we got? AGO. Now, okay, that's looking good. Atlas Iron. Well, nothing much to look at on the weekly. It's a tough one actually to see on the weekly. So that market started to lift up through here, past these previous highs, pushed down, what was that, around 1 cent, lifted up through that high of around 3 cents to above 5 with this move. Come all the way back down. But potentially what we're starting to see is the makings of a higher low here. Don't know. On the weekly, okay, it could go either way on the weekly. This weekly is taking a bit of pressure to push it back up above 2. Viewing the stochastics off this low. So this could easily just still hover around on the weekly. I'd rather see it hold a higher low and the stochastics take a bit of pressure to push it down, but still hold that higher low, and then look for the dailies. You can see that's a good sharp move up above 5. It's come all the way back down. It's come all the way back down to just above 1. We're starting to lift here. Is that the best fit? Yep. And we are in a good zone on the dailies for a higher low. Just drawing this one up, I just want to be, convinced, and it's probably because of this price action recently. I want to be convinced that buyers are stepping up to the plate. And what I would be looking for, that's a good level 5 washout here. Move all the way back down. You've got a good little support here. Broke through that, broke up and out. We're holding a higher low, potentially up here. So what I want to do is see it. If you can just draw that up, that's where that's just this little spot here. It's pushed up. We're pulling back to here. I would like to see maybe it lift like that, and I want to see this little minor lower high, because I think what that is confirmation that that's a good little support, and we're not just going to build and just go bang straight down like that. So I think buying it off here is probably a bit tougher, or you buy it through the breakup through 250, but then you're probably going to give up a bit. It's in a good little zone, stochastics wise. It's taking a bit of pressure to push it down. So a few factors. I just want to see this last little setup to make me happy, to make me a bit more confident that buyers are jumping in. That's the way I would attack it anyway, personally. Something like this, because if we just buy it straight off support here, this could happen. We get that pop up, push down, and we go all the way back down to 1, and then you have to sit and hold it and wait, or you just get out and watch it again. Ideally get out and watch it, because that's the way you should be trading. What else we got? AGO, FMG. Alright, FMG on a daily basis, it could be lifting off here. But on a weekly, so this is more of that, the weekly chart's telling me one thing, potentially this is a good zone to build a lower high. The dailies are showing another thing. What I generally don't like to see too much is, to go long, if we just draw it up, I've done it again, haven't I? Let's just get rid of that. Let's just get rid of volume. What I don't like to see is more those V-shape bounce. And really, for me, that's what we saw here. It's moved down, it popped up, we pushed down, and we brought straight back up to this resistance zone, and then pull back. I mean, that's pretty good. That's not a bad structure. And then we're pushing up here, but don't forget we're coming towards that that breakout zone of 6. So we may find that sellers start stepping in again. Anyone that's been caught long here and didn't get out may want to, is looking at this and look, they may just think it's there is signs, there's an argument for both sides of this. On the daily, if you're just working off the daily chart, we pull back, this is potentially another high low, and then up we go, straight through 6, and then we just take, we start attacking those highs right up at 720. It's worth the risk reward, because if you take it, if you can get your setup here, I haven't seen one just yet. It's really just buying it and having your stop below 540 when this could easily pop up and then roll over. If I can draw that. This could easily from here, go back to blue, pop up, or probably a bit higher, and then start to get weakness again as the longer term weekly trend takes hold, because don't forget that weekly trend is starting to get a bit stretched up here. So it's one of those ones that's, I think long is a bit risky for me. Just at the moment, going from the weekly, I'd rather see the weekly on the rise rather than rolling over, if that makes sense. Because I'm sort of banking on this potentially could be that lower high. I mean, easily be wrong. I'm not normally wrong, but anyway. All right, let's go to the next one. SHV. I'm going to try. Oh, either way, it doesn't look good. Like I don't see much just here apart from the market trying to close the gap, maybe having a gap fill trade, but really, it doesn't look that great. That the weekly trend is down. There's no doubt about that. The market's had a good sell-off from 13.50 down to $4, popped back up, struggled at 8. It took a bit of effort to get it up there. You can see by the stochastics it's overbought. Bit of effort, started rolling down, building those lower highs, and at the moment we're still holding lower highs, lower lows on the weekly anyway. So the weekly pressure is down for me. So really drilling it down to the daily, we've got a gap down here. I'm sort of looking at this potentially breaking out down below and targeting a bit like Telstra, maybe grind higher, then bang, straight down again through 4. But here your key zone on your weekly chart is way up here at 520, so it could easily pop back up and then hold that weekly trend down, or we could start seeing, if we want to see the longer term trend change, you want to see this level broken at 520. Right, and that would be more confirmation that the weekly starting to either go into consolidation or starting to build. But either way, on the weekly chart, I wouldn't be buying it off the daily. Okay, look, I wouldn't anyway. I'd want to see some action first. Pop up, build a higher low, and then I'd be inclined to look to buy it, but on a gap fill play rather than this is going to be the new leg high, because it's going to come under a bit of pressure. There's going to be a bit of reaction potentially up here. It doesn't mean you can't have a profitable trade, but it's just something to keep in the back of your mind. It's different to having the weekly on your side, getting that pullback and looking for the daily to start going back up again when the weekly is like the wind in your sails, pushing it higher, and getting both in your favour. When you've got the weekly down and the daily looking like it's going up, it's a bit of conflict of interest, really. So they're tougher ones to trade, but you just got to know what your overall scenario is. You've got to have that. You've got to have a plan. We said it before. We'll say it again. All right, SWVW, is that right? I've got a feeling we're not going to get through all these, but look, we'll give it a go. All right, let's just 7. This one I would find tougher to trade, only because you can see that grind high and then bang straight up, and then hold, and it gets choppy and then goes. It's sort of chop 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 bang, and then it grinds higher, bang, up we go again. Did it here. There's no real, for me there wasn't a real entry here. We're on the daily. It was tough to take an entry off this one. I think that's not really a pullback for me. I want to see a couple of days and then go and then accelerate. Instead, it's, we washed out the previous high, we started grinding wide, complex correction lower, and then bang, it just turns on a dime really, and then you can see this choppiness through here, more of consolidation between support and resistance, and then bang, up we go again. This really, probably the only thing was for a decent setup for me was buying it through that 11.25, and you look what happened here. It washed out the highs, bang, straight down again. More of a corrective action lower, and then once we had a decent correction lower, bang, up we go again. Just 2 days solid. So I find this one, I'd keep away from it purely from the history. Nothing to say you can't buy it. It's just tougher to place a stop. I mean, if you bought it I don't know where you would buy it here. For me, buying it would only have been on the break through 11, but I don't like that because it's made a lower low. I want to see buying off a higher low, and I just don't see that type of price action really anywhere. Probably here, but then you've got your MAs working down. We haven't really... In here, you can see it's pushed down to... I won't mark it up. It's pushed down, popped up, ever so slightly higher low. So buying it through that break, but it's not a solid setup because that could easily come up, hold below this longer term lower high, and then roll over again, go deeper, then just get washed out of the market. So not a solid setup for me at all. And that was really the only half decent setup that I like. Does that make sense, guys? Why? I mean, I would keep away from this. You can trade it if you want. But yeah, I just think there's a lot better charts to have a look at. I mean, just remember, don't get caught up in any one chart. You go and have a look through the market. It takes a bit of time, but just scan through until you find something that's really nice, and then you find a higher probability setup. You can put more into it. Lower probability setups, the tougher ones to trade, you probably should have less exposure to. Where are we? What have we done? SVN. Linus, you're bringing up pain for me. We got jabbed out of this one. Bought it below 10. I can't remember. Took something off at 11 and then up, and then we had our stop on a partial 11 or so, above that 11.5. So that was good. That was a good little gain. Then we got washed out of this at 10. Bang. We had it at 10.5. Tight stop. I mean, in essence, that was a bit of a dumb stop, and you can see why. The market's growing lower, so we bought it off these high lows. It started rising, and it was a 10-cent play. In hindsight, that went high. It looked really good, and it broke through these levels at 10.5. You can see that lower high just through here. Really should have had a wider stop on that one, but it was a bit tougher. You know, it should have been way back, potentially down here at 9, because that was really a last move up. Little minor double top here. Had a bit of corrective action down to 10. Then held that inside high low at 10.5 and then just went on with it. So we missed out on this major move higher up to 16 on the second half of the trade. Thanks for bringing that up. It really, Nisha, it kills me looking at that one, but you know, that's trading. That's just a hold. That's when I say holding your wrist too tight and not letting it try to open up. All right. And really, when we're looking at that in hindsight, there's no reason to put it at 10.5. Just below that 11 mark, probably just thinking that it could have been straight back down through 10 and then just ground its way like this. Bit of grinding action, but another thing to take note of is what we've had this move up, what I should have taken note of, from 5.5 up to 14. Decent complex correction, and we're starting to come out the other side, so really you'd be projecting this low up to, you know, from that low to high, taking that low, and I think it took us up to somewhere around 16.5 anyway. So that action leg at this time had more to play out, and it would have been better just to widen that a bit, give it some room to move, and let it go. We all make mistakes, so it takes us a bit of a while to learn. Brent CTD, probably not going to get through all of them, guys. We'll give it a crack. Look, that's looking good. I think we had this one as alert. I mean, that's nice, Brent. Look at the weekly too. That weekly's higher. Complex correction here. Are we grinding higher? Maybe a little complex correction through here around that $18 mark. Held a higher low, and that's led us higher. And just now we're starting to, you know, it's really just another longer term continuation trade like this. Pulling back to the MAs, reversion to the mean, off we go. Looking at the daily, looks nice. Would have been great through 23. And your risk is just below 22.5. Potentially looking through. See how it reacts at these highs. See if we can bunch through those highs. Otherwise, just potentially look for a partial exit. I don't know what you've got on that, but this one's going up. It's getting a bit long in the tooth here, and this is how I use the stochastics. Getting up to a resistance level when you're looking a bit stretched. Sometimes for me is just a good reason to take a partial exit. Take it off because you can always let the second lot run, and it can do well. If this one becomes a double top, then you probably expect a lower high, complex correction, then you're probably going to get stopped right out of all of it if you have a full position. This has got a cold coffee now. Either way, that's looking nice. CW, I think this one's looking good too. Again, you've got the price action, the weekly is in your favour. Harder one to trade, again, a bit like What was the one we looked at before? Linus. No, not Linus. SVW. Tough one to trade here because it looks like it's just chops people out, and then straight back up again, chops them out, back up again. But I'm just trying to scan through, looking through good entry, through here. You know, you looked at a profit through there, and then it come back, pretty much back to entry on this pullback, but still held. If you could hold through that, great. And look at even that entry there, that inside entry, which I do like. Just through the high, just through here. Stop below here. You've got stopped out if you didn't take a partial at all. With this grind down, you could have taken a partial on this move, this lower high, taken some off. Probably would have been close to break even, but it's just a tough one to trade, that one. You got these, they push up through the high, but not a lot, and they have these deep corrections. Pushes up through the high and a deep correction, just to flush a lot of people out. Sometimes it is conducive of a good move higher. Just continually putting people back on the sidelines. But yeah, I just find that a bit tougher to trade. I don't like it as much. NXT. That price action, a good correction here. Major high low. It's had a leg through, back up through the highs. Back down to the daily. Yeah, for me, this one's not as clear cut. I'll show you why. Good little entry here, but are we just correcting and then we hold a lower high and roll over again? Or are we on our way high? It's not, for me, it's not confirmed yet. Just before I do that, bugger it. Let's do that. And this is really, one thing I do like to do is just put it through there, and up until probably, this is the daily, isn't it? Up until today, it looks like we are coming out. So now I want to see, it's pushed up. I want to see a bit of a pullback, build that high low, and then I'd like to be entering there, lowering my risk. If it doesn't play out and it just grinds higher through the highs, so be it. I miss out on that one. But either way, that's heading high, and it's starting to, early for me, early signs that this is your higher low on your longer term basis, and we're going to grind our way higher. Whether we do this, push all the way up, to 480 before we have some sort of reaction and we build the high low, I don't know. But we'll see how that goes. It is on its way up anyway, by the looks of it. What was this one? NXT, and we've got AYS. John, that corrective action there. What does it look like on the weekly? Yeah, I want to see this one. It hasn't, for me, it's really coming back down to test. So again, you got to plan out. I did it again. Always doing it. There we go. So on this, we obviously got a clear base of support through somewhere around 140 up to 155. You can see whatever happened on that one, I don't know. Not traded a lot. It had a massive sell-off, and then we tried to build, but now we only got up as far as resistance around 230, and then we grind our way lower. So you want to see signs that that's starting to hold up, and it's only starting to hold up when these lower highs are broken. All right, potentially that could break. This is a weekly, isn't it? Yeah, we've had that pullback here, so we've tested down support. We've had that pullback. I guess what I'm trying to say is, if you bought it through 180, you've got to be concerned that this downtrend is still holding, hasn't broken. So it could easily pop up through here and then bang straight back down again. Does that make sense? So you just got to have the context of the weekly market. What's happening? Could buy here, but I would rather see, on a weekly basis, I'd rather see, like before, I'd rather see the weekly on my side, it push up through here and then maybe correct, push up through the weekly, like I said, and then maybe correct lower, and then get this type of price action where you got, where your risk is. We're starting to rise again on the daily chart. We've had a good correction. We've broken that trend higher. That is a good sign. Once you get through that $2 level, it's a good sign that this longer term weekly trend, it's a double bottom. It's starting to find support, and we're starting to work our way higher, potentially up to 230 or even push up through 230. Always good to see. We call them retest fails, but a double bottom, retest fail, and that's where it's pushed up, massive push down, and then you're starting to come up the other side. So when you get that 1, 2, testing support, and it's starting to lift like that, that's where you want to go. That's ideally, You could trade them off. That's a single test of a level, and we worked our way up. Then we've come back down. A double test and it's starting to hold up is more evidence that buyers are stepping in and starting to hold it and pushing higher. But that's not confirmed until we get through $2 on the weekly anyway. So on the daily, like I said, if you bought it through that push up through 175, say 180, say. Your risk is going to want to be at 167, say 165, give a bit of room. But then we might just have that little spurt higher to 185 and then build that lower high on a weekly and then roll over again back down to that support. All right, because it hasn't been confirmed just yet that where that double bottom is holding. All right. Yeah, no, exactly. Helen, now, what was the other one? AYS GXL. We've had this one as... We had this one as a short. I didn't actually alert it, but I was just waiting for the entry setup. I come a bit late to the party here as a short. The weekly's still down. Oh, God, Brady. Come on, Brady. Let's just get rid of that. All right. Just getting a bit long here. That move down there, you can see it's, you know, lower high, lower high, lower highs through here. We've got a key level down at 5. It's starting to get pressed down into that support zone. So maybe that will hold up. We don't know. This is your sort of first heads up that potentially that's going to hold up. We've got a high low here. But again, we're not confirmed on the weekly anyway until we push up through 725. Now that's a long way off. So there is room to move on the daily if you traded it on the way up. But for me, shorts are still in control longer term. I think it's going to take a bit of work before we start breaking out of this contraction lower. And again, I want to see this, you know, major move up through 725. And then I like to see that push down and then start holding. And that could take you, you know, back to, ideally, if it pops up through here and corrects back down to 6, you're back at the same spot. But you've got evidence we're starting to push up out of contraction rather than buying it here where it could easily fall short and then roll over for deeper. It could take out $5 easy. Okay, so again, it's one of those ones where 1 week chart, the longer term's saying it's down. Looking at this shorter term chart, well, it's still, for me, it's still looking down. We've got, this is probably clearer how we can correct up. 1 leg up, 2 legs up. Take us to 670 and then roll over longer term. The longer term structure takes hold and pushes us down. So, yeah, just be careful of this one, I guess. But, yeah. Hope that makes sense, guys. A bit of rambling there, but I hope we got through everything. I hope that did well. I hope you enjoyed that. We'll probably call it a day there. Any questions just before we go? I'll just get back on to see where the market's at. Up 1. We're up 1. Just see where everything else is. We've got this one. This is EH. This, I think, is going to be that 10-cent play. Now it's popped up, held a high low in here, and it's just starting to, you can pick up volume. You can see that from around 7. Pushed up, had a crack towards 10, pulled back, high low around 8.23, and we're just getting up to 10. So that's that 10-cent play potentially where the guys will be buying it below 10 in the 0.01s and then pushing it above to 10, 10.5. So you might get some stops triggered at 10. They could buy at the offer, which would be 10.5 as they jump, the increments change. So it might chop around here. Potentially we'll look for a partial exit around 10.5, 11, maybe. Just see how it goes, and then just let the rest ride and have our exit below our support. What do you call it? Risk is what I'm looking for. All right, but anyway, thanks for joining me, guys. We'll call it quits there. Call it a day. Thank you very much. We'll be back in on Monday at 12:30. Any questions you might have still, feel free to send them through via email to support@tradesetup.com.au, or you can send it to support@tradedirect365.com.au as well. So, and then we'll Helen, is this one on which particular stock? This one here is a bit, if it's EHX, it's a bit more risky, but it's a good payout too. And they do, you'll notice one thing to look at when you're talking about that 10.5 play. See the offer here is 1.3 million at 10.5. So it could easily get through, bang, 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 and then there's going to be a lot on the offer just that potentially have bought it around 9.123, this zone here. Well, in here they bought it here, they pop it up through to 10.5, take a profit, and then it may bounce back down. It may just oscillate through there as they chip around below. I mean, when you're doing good quantities, then that's a good little return. Anyway, all right. Sorry, just going to see if you can chuck through a comment then, Helen. Otherwise, we'll just call it quits there. Oh, look, if you've got a question, Helen, just chuck it through on the emails. Anyway, thanks for joining us, guys. We'll leave it there, and I'll see you hopefully again on Monday. Enjoy your weekend. Cheers. Bye.